Welcome everybody. Skorch the Fears, episode 52. We've got Alejandro Alvarez, a beast of a man of a beast. Alejandro, I don't think you knew this. I didn't tell you this, but this is episode 52. I've been doing this for a year straight now. It
Wow.
is, I'm announcing this. It's pretty crazy. We've been doing this. I've been doing this podcast for a year. Been wild, had some wild guests. We've been getting better. We got Instagram running over here, which is pretty cool. I'm hoping that it'll work out and it'll be awesome on both ends. If not, people can give me feedback if you are on either of these. I'm going to be focusing on YouTube though. But Alejandro, my man, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
Bro, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, bro. This is amazing. I think we've been speaking about this, for a little bit over a month or something?
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
100%. So real quick, for the 0 people that don't know you right now, who are you? What do you do? Who is the real Alejandro Alvarez?
Great question. My name is Alejandro Alvarez. It's Latin. My family's Dominicans. They're Dominicans. I was raised in St. Martin. Oh, I'm wearing a hat today. That's a French island in the Caribbean, whatever everyone calls it. Everyone has a different way of saying it. And then 2009 came to America. I think the first state we went to was Georgia, from Georgia to Texas. Now I'm back here in Texas. I live here full time. Always been in sales since I was 16 years old. I came to America when I was 15, and I'm 29 now, and been in real estate. Been through so many sales jobs. Went from dealership, door to door. What else? I also have some air duct cleaning services. That was a sales job, and now I'm here in real estate, but there's no limitations. So, Jonah, I think you and I can agree. Real estate is one of those sales jobs that you can have so many different ways of making money and no limitations.
It's amazing. Dude, do you know I lived in the Dominican Republic for 2 years? You probably don't know that. I was in the Peace Corps and I lived in the Dominican Republic. I'm going back in a week, which is really funny that you're Dominican.
Yo, that is crazy. What part? You going to Punta Cana? Sorry, that's
No. I'm not going where the gringos go. I'm going to Santiago, Puerto Plata, Las Terrenas, Samana, and then I'm going to my campo, like where I used to live, my campo.
Oh, like the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, that is dope.
Right? Yeah. Hablo español perfectamente, como un nativo. Like, I got, just FYI, it's just funny because you just happen to be Dominican. So
that's crazy. And you never knew that.
Yeah. And I didn't know you were Dominican. I knew you were some sort of Latino, but I didn't know what type. Usually Black Latinos are Dominican generally. Yeah. It's almost always. So real quick, what islands? St.
Martin. St. Martin. It's owned by.
What language do they speak?
It's Dutch and French. Yeah.
So what languages do you speak? Do you speak all of those? Any of those?
I used to. But now I can still understand French. I can still, a small conversation, but there's definitely a lot that I can do to better myself in French. I can understand a little bit of Italian. I can speak Spanish. I can also speak English. So those are the languages I mostly speak. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Anywho, that's just sick. So going to the real estate though, this is like what people care about, right? So in terms of real estate, so this podcast is called Skorch the Fears, right? So Skorch the Fears, basically the whole point of this podcast is to help newer investors get over the fears, the mindset barriers that they have when starting out in this, because we all have mindset barriers, especially when we're starting. Everybody's is a little bit different. So I'm going to start with the question, when you were just starting in real estate, or if you feel like it'd be better to start with like your first sales job, but we can also start with real estate or your first company. What were the fears you were feeling and how did you overcome them?
Ooh, it's a great question. I'm going to have to go back and think about, because it's been over 2 years since I've been full-time real estate. And the first year I spent reinventing my mindset. So there's a lot of things that I wouldn't say completely erased, but I just don't even think about it anymore. But I would say it was a big jump for me, man. The reason why I left the dealership which was a very great job, I learned a lot from working in a dealership. And this is when the pandemic hit a couple of years ago. And dude, that's when that pandemic hit, that's when I realized I really didn't have control of my life because I
Mm-hmm.
was working these 70, 80 hours a week. And yeah, you made money, but the month after that, you have to work hard again. Like it's
Right.
continuing. You have to work over and over. And there were so many emotions, man, that I have to check in with like every morning or dodge every day just to keep a positive mindset. Cause I've always have like this positive, energy that I just want to keep. But it's really difficult when you're around a lot of different energy in one building that you work all day, all week. So when I came to realize, man, I really don't have control of my life. And that's really when I was like, dude, I got to get out of here. There's something I have to
Mm-hmm.
do. And at that time, I remember I would say it was maybe 3 years prior, somewhere in 2015, maybe, 16, 15, 16. I actually started learning about wholesaling. I read the book Flip Me or Flip, I don't
Mm.
remember. It was Nick Rees, I think it was. And obviously, the book prior to that was Rich Dad Poor Dad. A lot of people
Classic.
read that book, yeah. But I was actually still working at a dealership back then, and I was that one guy in the suit, just jumping off the intersection, putting a bandit sign with a track phone from Walmart. I don't think I got a deal from that, but I was working with a group of.
So you were, sorry to interrupt, but so
Go ahead.
you were at the dealership and doing real estate.
Yeah, back in 2015. This is when Jerry Norton was killing the YouTube content.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did that, and man, so fast forward back to the pandemic times, I was like, man, I do remember I still know real estate. Let me reach out to one of the guys that I met back then and see how they're doing. And I met one of the guys that I believe he still has a wholesale company right now. And he posted literally like maybe 2 hours later of after I was like, man, I got to get out of here. He was like, hey, looking for acquisitions. I'm like, I don't know what that means. What do you mean acquisitions? And I messaged him. He was like, hey, this is just, closing deals. I'm like, great. I'm one of the best closers here at the dealership. I was top 3 sales in Nissan, and I did really well for myself there. 6 figures a year. I was a little bit
Nice.
younger mindset. Didn't know what the heck to do with all that money, but it was fun. So that's when I met him, and he was like, hey, I can't promise you that you'll make $10,000, $15,000 like you do at the dealership, but I can promise you there's no limits. There's a lot of opportunities. And man, that was tough because at the time I was in a relationship and I had
Mm.
bills. I still had people that I take care of financially. And man, that was a really, really scary jump for me, but that was it.
How old were you? Like, can you talk a little bit about your situation and what that was? Because I feel like one of the most common things I hear, maybe not explicitly as much anymore, but implicitly is like, man, Jonah, it's easy for you. You started when you were 25. You didn't have any bills to pay. You were
Yeah.
just living with your parents. I
Mhm.
bought my own food, but that was about it, and paid my own gas.
Right.
But they were just like, you had that. You didn't have the responsibilities of kids or parents. I don't know what your responsibilities were, but can you talk about that a little bit of just like what was your situation at that time?
Yeah. I'll be honest, man. I actually didn't have that many bills. I
Okay.
don't have kids yet, but at the
Gotcha.
time, I still have my 2008 Mercedes paid off. Something I learned from the Rich Dad Poor Dad, liabilities versus
Right.
assets. And so I had a paid off. I have a paid off car, and I still have it till today. It's really nice. I get a lot of compliments, more from older people. They like that car, but I'll take that. I had my apartment. Obviously, when you're in a relationship, you want to have some nice things here and there. But I had a pretty decent amount of money saved up, and I just took that jump, bro. And when
Mm.
for 2 months, it took 2 months for me to get my first deal. And my first deal, I think I just posted this on Instagram recently. My first deal was like $300. That's how much I made. But
Woo! Ring the
that was
bell. Ring
that,
the bell for $300. Let's go.
bro. That's all I needed to, um, for the verification. Like that gratification of like, whoa, this is possible. This is, the possibilities are here. And then my next deal, I made that company $70,000. I forgot how much I made. I think it was like 10 grand or something. But
Gotcha.
bro, ever since then, I was like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is it. I'm not
Talk
going back to
about
dealership.
I love it, dude. I mean, my dad was a car salesman, and I saw that life via him, and it is not, it is a that is a grind. That is a grind of a
Yeah.
freaking life. Talk about when you receive that $300, because I know a lot of people hear that and they're like, okay, like $300, like cool, but like that's not going to pay any bills. But
Yeah.
I already know what you were thinking of, like
Yeah.
just like getting a check in general of like
Yeah.
what it does to your mind. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, like the $70,000 a second deal, like it meant nothing compared to that $300. I'll tell you that right
Mm-hmm.
now. Because
Yep.
that $300, it was that little piece that my mind was missing to let my mind know, like, we're okay. We're gonna make it. Like I was so much in disbelief. I'm like, there's no way I'm just gonna cold call
Mm-hmm.
people and make money and be financially free in real estate. No way.
Right.
This is crazy. But when I made that $300 and I watched step by step on how that happened, I couldn't believe on how simple it was, bro.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. And then that next deal, I'm like, ever since then, like it was just like, okay, cool. Deals after deals after deals after deals. And yeah, man, again, that's all I needed to just let myself know like we're gonna be okay. That
I
$300
love it.
check.
I love it. So, okay. You're working for somebody else at the beginning. What happened? So, like, let's go a little bit just more with the story. I
Mhm.
have maybe some questions about working for somebody else, but what just like what happened with the job you eventually quit to start your own business? Was that always in your mind to do that, or were you initially thinking, no, I'd just rather do this for this guy, or what were you thinking?
Well, I worked for that company for about a year, but I've since we already had like that conversation prior to me starting with him. It was like, hey, this is what's possible after this amount of months. You're going to be able to run your own company. I'm like, okay, this is great. And it was just something fast that really happened. And after a year, he actually decided to go fully virtual. So it was like mostly just VAs working for his company. So that was the time for me to go ahead and start my own company with my cousin, which is my business
Okay.
partner. But that company has helped me massively to get where I'm at today because I mean, he showed me all the ins and out. He shows me what system, what tools to use, just really good stuff that, that helped me. Obviously, I've learned a lot more since then, but I mean, if it wasn't for me starting to work for someone, I don't think I would be here right now in this podcast, to be honest with you, because
Gotcha.
that's helped me scale very fast.
Okay, so real quick, when do you think a person should do that? Like how like cuz some people like me, that wasn't for me, but like I'm curious like what type of person do you think should do that? Do you think everybody should always do that? Like what what's your advice to people who are just starting? Like is it start on your own, or is it like hey, find an Alejandro Alvarez who's hiring for acquisition managers?
Mhm.
Like what do you think is the right role? Is it like a certain personality type?
If I have to give advice for anyone that's starting off, especially now during this market, that's a little bit more difficult to get some deals. It used to be, I don't know, what was it, like 30 leads per contract? Now it's like 60 or
Mhm.
somewhere in the higher end. Really depends on your marketing. But I would always say work for someone, have that fully transparent conversation from the front, have your upfront contract ready, let that person know your intentions. Hey, I want to run my own business. I will work for you for at least a
Mhm.
year. I've had people DM me saying, "Hey, I want to work for you for like 3 months and learn and do my own thing." Like the amount of months, years, even that it took you to learn all the stuff that you know today where you are, where you at your business. For someone to just say, "Hey, let me just come to you, dig your brain for like 3 months," it's almost like a disrespect, like a slap in the face. Like, hey,
Mhm.
cool, I know you did it for 2 years, but let me just work 2 months and I go do my own thing. So I always advise people, whatever company you're working for, at least do it for a year and have that upfront contract. For the first quarter, learn how to, do the acquisition stuff with lead generation. Second quarter, learn how to do transactions. Third quarter, dispo. Fourth quarter, how to even run your own business. Like it makes sense. It takes time to learn these things. You're not gonna learn all of that in 3 months.
Right.
not enough to run a business or scale a business. So I always recommend go work for someone, but vet that person properly. You want to make sure that that person can, has the system in place and resources to make sure that you will reach your financial goals every month, because I know we all have expenses. Well, I know we all have to pay our bills. So make sure you vet that person. Hey, how much does your, slowest acquisition guy makes here? And it doesn't have to be acquisition. You can, do disposition as well, or whatever that could be. There's still a way.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Are there any other questions you should ask? Is it just like how much does the person who's already in my role make? Are there any other ways you would vet the person or the position?
Oh man, dude, with the stuff I know now, make sure that make sure that company knows creative finance. Please.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting. Talk about that.
I mean, dude, because if you only know cash offer, cash offer, cash offer, you're gonna miss so many opportunities, especially when you're helping out the homeowners. Because there's some people that can't sell their house for a discount. They don't have equity. They don't have, they can't afford to sell sell their house at a discount. And that was one
Right.
of the reasons why I got in creative finance, because me being at the dealership, I always found ways, to help someone with a monthly payment. Hey, I got this other car that I can help you get a lower monthly payment, or I got this other car that has a sunroof. But when it came to wholesale, when it was only cash offer, I'm like, dude, is this the only thing I can provide to these people? What else can I do? This person really needs to sell their house, but they can't sell it at a discount. So this is when I started getting into creative finance. I read a book. I think it's called My Life in 1,000 Homes by Mitch Stevens.
Hmm.
And from there, he shows you how to do like owner finance, private money lending with like $100,000 homes. And it was like straight owner finance. It was nothing sub two. But then I went on YouTube and search how to owner finance a house with a mortgage. And that's when Pace popped up on YouTube and the real estate
Classic.
disruptors. Yeah. So once I find out what else is possible out there with creative finance, oh my God. If you're going to go start to work with another wholesale company, make sure they know creative finance, because now you have a whole bunch of tools and resources for you to succeed. So that would be my advice on that.
Interesting. So that's a cool criteria. I kind of like that they know cash offers and creative financing. That's
Mhm.
cool. Is there anything else you think, or just those two?
No, I mean, obviously, not everyone is going to resonate with you. Make sure they resonate
Right.
with you, because you don't want to be in a very toxic environment. You don't want to be in a, you don't want to be forced to wake up and work. That's something, I
Right.
really don't enjoy doing. It's just like being in an environment where I just don't enjoy being there. I don't feel peaceful. At least that's for me. Some people don't care. For me, I need to be at peace. I need to have my own little corner so I can focus and do what I need to do.
Gotcha. So what's your advice? Because I like listening to this because, again, I'm gearing this towards people who've never even done a deal before.
Mhm.
What's your advice? Because I think it's very easy to plug into somebody's business if you're a closer. I
Yeah.
consider myself very much a closer also. Like I have
Mhm.
that personality type of a salesperson.
Mhm.
What about people who are more like introverted, or somebody who's more integrator style, or
Ooh.
maybe isn't a closer but is something else? Like I would say, how do you know? The real question is this: how do you know where to plug yourself into somebody else's business?
Oh,
What
that's
would
a
be
great
good for you?
question. You can start with reading the book Rocket Fuel. That will help you understand more of your superpowers. If you're an integrator, I would advise you to reach out to some visionaries, especially if they're closers, because if they're closers, you can then be, and you can be the operator for the business.
Quickly define what integrator means. I didn't define it, but define what an integrator versus a visionary is for the people who haven't read the book.
Well, I don't know down to the details. I'll be honest with you, Jonah. I just know the difference between visionary and integrator is me, my business partner. He's more in the back end, like to do the operations, like to do all the technical stuff, like to put all the systems in place. He does the automations in our CRMs. I don't enjoy any of that. I see a vision. I go speak with my partner. Hey, here's his vision. Can we make it possible? Like today, I just asked him, hey, I have an idea to make the CRM a little bit more easier with the automations. Can you make this possible? And he goes like, let me think about that. And then he goes behind the scenes with the IT stuff, and he does all that integrator stuff. So it's a real good combination to have, especially when you have a company that you're looking to scale. But as far as that, Rocket Fuel will definitely give you more details on that.
Yeah. So back to the original question. So like, if you're an integrator, find a visionary. What if they don't want to start the business yet, though? Let's say they just want to plug into somebody else's business. My personal answer for this and I'll just get your opinion on it after too, is like, if you're an integrator, do something like TC work or like admin stuff for somebody, right? Like understanding your strengths and then seeing if you can plug into somebody's business that way. Because I know people who are starting incredible TC businesses, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you have any more advice on that, but it's something I've been thinking about as people ask me, because people are constantly asking me, and they probably ask you too. It's like, hey, Jonah, like I want to work for you. Like I want to be your acquisitions manager because I just hired an acquisitions manager. But very obviously, some of those people are just not closers. They're not right for that role. But at the same time, I do think people really benefit by working for somebody else. So what do you think? Do you kind of agree with me, or what do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. There's definitely multiple departments that you can get plugged into that you don't have to put yourself in a position where you're being forced to talk to sellers. Some integrators hate talking to people. They don't want to talk to sellers. They just want to be behind the scene and, you know, make sure the systems are in place. They're a little bit more organized. I'm like, dude, if it wasn't for my partner, I would definitely be disorganized, like in a lot of places in my business.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's keep going with the story a little bit. You start reading books. You're still working for the other guy. You start learning about owner financing, and then you find the great Pace Morby. And what happens?
God. Man, the first thing I did was, I mean, I listened to the whole podcast with him, and was it Steve? Yeah, Steve Tran, and he gave out his number on that YouTube, and I texted him. I'm like, hey, I want to get into creative finance. Matter of fact, here I still have it saved.
You still have the video saved?
No, I have the text message I sent him here because I only texted him here a few times.
This is to Pace?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Guys, secret knowledge. If you go to the first podcast Pace ever did with Steve Trang, you get his personal cell phone number if you like find the right thing. So all of you can spam him, say, hey, Jonah told me to spam you from the podcast, and that'd be funny. And he might not like me after that, but it's just saying that's a hack if you need his number or want his number.
I can't find it here because this whole thing got restarted. But I texted him and I was telling him, hey, I want to join. I want to whatever you're doing, I want to do sub 2 creative finance, owner finance. And he told me to reach out to Jamil. Shout out to Jamil, great guy. He's the one that and I got on the phone with Jamil one time, and he was just I think he was just chilling somewhere.
Who is he?
Jamil, he's a sub 2 student.
Okay.
Yeah, he was just chilling and he was all relaxed, talking on the phone.
What year was this? How long ago was this?
This was during the pandemic. It was a couple months after the whole pandemic thing went down.
Okay, so 2020.
Yeah, 2020. But yeah, I reached out to Jimmy Allen. He was like, "Yeah, I'm working on taking this property down, sub 2, whatever." Like he said it like it was nothing, and to me, it was like this is like a whole nother like blockage I had in my mind. Like, what? Take over someone's mortgage? What are we talking about? And I didn't know that was possible. And as soon as I spoke with Jamil, I'm like, yeah, I need to join sub 2. I need to join right now. Because at that time, I actually had a seller on the phone that wanted to sell her house, but she couldn't. And the funny thing is, she was moving to Phoenix. So I took that as a sign. I'm like, yo, wait a minute. Pace Morby's in Phoenix. This lady, all of a sudden, she lives in Phoenix, and she's okay with me taking over her mortgage. I have to join this community. I have to join it. And it took me about 2 weeks of just listening to Pace Morby on the phone with like the rebuttals, sellers' objections, and all that stuff. And I got back on the phone with that lady and told her, hey, here's what we can do, which is a sub 2. And she needed nothing. I think she was like $1,800 behind on the mortgage. And we took it over sub 2. That was my first sub 2, 2 weeks into the mentorship. And yeah, if you go back to like the rap series and the Kajabi, you'll see I was one of those guys there asking like, hey, what do I do next?
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. So, sorry. So at this time, did you start your own business yet, or were you still working for that guy?
Oh no. I didn't start my own business like maybe like 8 months after that.
Okay, interesting. So you joined Sub 2 while working for somebody else?
Yep.
That's so interesting. Wait a minute. So hold on, because that's almost that because like Sub 2 is not cheap. It's a couple $1,000s, right? So you were just that dedicated to learning it in general, basically.
Yep.
That's insane. So like talk about that a little bit because in my mind, if I was working for somebody else, I would just I'd be like, like this, like whatever. Like I'm not gonna spend $8,000 to help out my employee or my employer. Like he can figure it out and join Sub 2, and maybe when I
Yeah.
start my business, I'll join it, and maybe then that'll work. What motivated you in that moment to be like, nah, I want to get this sale and I want to know. I'm here to learn.
Man, the motivation was there. I mean, just listening to that podcast with Paige, like it was just, I don't know what it was. It was like this energy of like this guy is going to help me change my entire life. Just I don't know if it was the way he spoke or maybe the way that he went through, that whole bankruptcy situation and he just bounced back like whatever. Let's just keep going. And he was just saying about sub twos owner finance. And there was this one other video that shocked me. It was him. He was speaking about it took him 4 months to take down properties creatively and create $20,000 in cash flow. I couldn't, I
Hmm.
couldn't, I couldn't understand it. But when I watched that video, I'm like, yes, this is what I need to be part of because that's what I wanted to escape. The whole rat race, the whole making 15, 20,000, $10,000 here, but then you have to work as hard the next month. Like, but this pace just out of the blue, just 4 months later, he's creating $20,000 worth of cash flow. I'm like, what?
Right.
And so it was just like something was just calling, bro. Like, I have to be here. I know I'm a great closer. I just need to be in front of the opportunities and know my tools and how I can use those tools to succeed. I knew that was the way to go at that time. I just had a really strong feeling.
Okay. So then when did you leave?
The other business,
Hmm.
I was like 8 months. 8 months after that, I believe that's when he decided to go virtual in his business.
So you left because he wanted to go virtual. And so he kind of was like, hey, I'm letting people go because I'm going virtual. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. So even if like it wasn't necessarily your choice in that one, when would you suggest, let's go through the timeline a little bit of somebody who, what you think ideally, somebody who hasn't done a deal yet. They're like, okay, I want to work for Alejandro Alvarez because he's super dope. I saw him on this podcast and he's an amazing guy. Work for him for, is it just a time thing of like just work a year and then quit? Is it based on time, you think? Is it based on how many skills they learn? Or like, when do you think somebody should be like, okay, I'm now ready to jump into my own business?
That's a great question. And I would say it really depends on who you are or who that person is. Because not everyone, Jonah, really has, that not everyone wants to run their own business, right?
Right.
Some people, there's a difference with entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. Some people are okay being entrepreneurs, working as a CEO, working as a sales director. Like if you can still make, whatever your financial goals are every month, then there's not a necessity to, okay, well, after a year, I'm going to go run my own business. And
Mm-hmm.
if I can go back and tell someone like, hey, if I can go back, I wish I work a little bit more for that other business because I felt like I still wasn't really ready to scale on my own, but
Hmm.
thankfully it went well.
Right.
But my risk tolerance is super high. I tell my friends this all the time. Like, bro, if you tell me there's something I can do, help people, make money, and my worst case scenario is that I go back to zero, whatever, let's go.
I love
Cool.
that. I love that so much. That's similar to me. Like I agree. It's like if worst came to worst, I lose everything I've made. I break my lease and I go back living with my parents, just like how I was 3 years ago. And it's just like that is literally the worst case scenario, right? Which So anyways, at least for me, I totally get it. You seem like a very introspective guy in the sense that you know yourself pretty well. I get that feeling from you. I don't know if it's just that you talk very calmly and slowly. I don't know. That might just be it. but if it isn't just that, how does one know thyself? How does one like learn what they should be doing in this business or whether they should be going into it?
Yo, Jonah, you're asking some really good questions tonight,
I
bro.
spit the fire, dude.
Dude, spitting some fire right now.
Skorch the Fears.
Man, for me it's different, bro. I mean, I can get really deep into this, but I can just go surface
Deep.
level.
We're going deep, dude. 100%. Go as deep. We're going as deep philosophically as we possibly can right now. I'm turning this into a therapy session if I need to.
Wow. Okay, cool. Well, in my personal beliefs, you know, in the past couple of years of just doing self-development, I've came to notice and realize a few things about myself that I didn't know how to define, if you get what I'm saying. Like there's like, you ever like done something and you do it and you just don't know why, but it feels good when you do it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like something like I've been doing my whole life. And I would say reading books, watching people like that are on higher levels, help me understand really why I'm doing certain things in life. Going back, bro, since I was a kid, I've always been in combat sports, and I think that has a lot to do with my confidence in taking
What
action.
does that mean? What does a combat sport mean?
Combat sports, like, you know, karate.
Oh, combat.
Yeah, combat. Yes.
Sorry.
Karate, soccer, baseball, sports like that. And I've always been that guy that just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best. I got diploma in kickboxing, hit a home run in baseball. And I used to be a sprinter as well. When I used to live in St. Martin, we used to go around the whole island. The island's actually not that big, bro. It's I think in a car, 'cause there's no highways. In a car, it can take you maybe 25 to 30 minutes to get to the other side of the island.
Damn, very small.
Yeah, so it's really small. It's only a two-way street. And I just always wanted to be the best, man. And I think it really starts from there. Like that's how deep it starts. Since I was a kid, my mom used to put me in sports. And no one wants to be last place, bro. That's a horrible feeling. No one wants to be in last place.
Right.
So I've always been competitive. And I think that has a lot to do with how I take action in everything I do today. Because when I went to the air duct service, I was the first one. My first job I got here in the United States was a valet parking job, which was at the Fairmont downtown Dallas. Guess what? Since I used to be a sprinter, it actually worked out. I'm actually the one running back and forth. Nice. Keys. And dude, I was parking some really nice cars like Aston Martins, Lexus. Like Lexus were the ish back then, bro. Like they were that car. At least in my opinion. Like when people were coming up to the hotel, that's a lot of people that's what they used to drive a lot.
Right.
But I've always been competitive. Like I want to make the most tips. Like we weren't getting paid much hourly. It actually sucked. I forgot how much it was, but it was really bad.
But you were always competitive, I can tell. So like you always had that competition spirit.
Yeah, always, bro. So I was just running back and forth. And that's actually where I met a guy that he pulled up in an Aston Martin, and I was like, dude, what do you do? Like, what do I need to do to get one of those cars? And that's who was like, hey, get into real estate, read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was like 17 or 18 at that time, and I read that book.